Sean's invitation. When I first saw the ad, it felt like fate. My hands trembled as I read the headline, Sean Moreno, legendary producer, seeks fresh new talent. I dreamed of an opportunity like this for years. To have a record company finally want to sign me was what I had dreamt of since I was a little girl. The invitation to his mansion for a weekend of mentorship was more than I could have hoped for. The drive to the mansion was uneventful at first, but as I got closer, the road narrowed, swallowed by gnarled trees. The GPS lost signal halfway there, leaving me to navigate winding paths bathed in an eerie mist. By the time I pulled into the circular driveway, the sight of exotic cars parked outside gave me a strange sense of unease, a stark contrast to the mansion's ominous silhouette. Sean himself greeted me at the massive double doors. He was charming and confident, his amber eyes locking onto mine with unsettling intensity. "Welcome, Emma." His handshake was firm, his hands cool and smooth. He led me inside, where a sweeping staircase and glittering chandeliers welcomed me. It was opulent, luxurious beyond anything I'd imagined, but something about it felt wrong. As Sean showed me to my room, a tall, gaunt man appeared silently beside us. His icy blue eyes seemed to pierce straight through me. "This is Mr. Alaric, my butler," Sean said. "He'll make sure you're comfortable." Mr. Alaric inclined his head ever so slightly, but his gaze didn't waver. Something about his presence made my stomach churn. In the dining room later that evening, I met the other guests, 4 other young musicians, all as starstruck as I was. But as the conversation flowed, I noticed how strange they were. Their voices were hollow, and they rarely made eye contact. They didn't even touch their food, which looked unnaturally perfect, like something out of a painting. One of them whispered to me, "Have you noticed? The mirrors don't show everything." Her words sent a shiver down my spine, but before I could ask her what she meant, Sean stood, drawing everyone's attention back to him. The next night, Sean brought me to his recording studio. My eyes caught as I entered. A grand piano sat in the center of the room, surrounded by shelves of books and strange artifacts. "Go ahead," Sean said. "Let me hear that voice." I sang. At first I was nervous, but soon something took over me, and I lost myself in the music. When I finished, Sean stood still, his face unreadable. "Your voice is extraordinary." I blushed, unsure how to respond. "We're going to make some real magic, Emma," he said. That night, I woke to faint music echoing through the halls. At first, I thought someone was playing the piano, but the melody was wrong, discordant, eerie. I followed the sound to a locked door. From the other side, I heard whispers, my name. I froze, every instinct screaming at me to run. When I turned back, I thought I saw a shadow move at the end of the hall, but it was gone when I blinked. The next morning, I told myself it had been a dream, but Clara's words about the mirrors lingered in my mind. That afternoon, I tested it, standing before the large mirror in my room. At first, my reflection seemed normal, but as I leaned closer, I saw it. My reflection moved out of sync, lingering just a second longer than I did. I stumbled back, my heart racing. On the second evening, Sean presented me with a gown, burgundy silk with gold accents. It was beautiful, but as I slipped it on, I felt trapped, like I was wearing someone else's skin. At dinner, the other guests seemed even stranger, their movements stiff, their expressions blank. When I looked at Sean, his gaze felt predatory. "I'm not feeling well." "Excuse me," I said. Disoriented and confused, I called my Nana, told her the whole story and how I felt sick. Nana reassured me that I was just having cold feet and that I would be all right. Then she asked me, "What was that name again?" What she said next sent shivers down my spine. She said, "Honey, Sean Moreno and Alaric Green, his deputy CEO, died in a fire at a mansion over 50 years ago." I felt chills run down my spine and goosebumps all over me, and then my phone glitched out and the previously full battery was now dead. As I wandered the halls, I saw Mr. Alaric disappear through a hidden door behind a bookshelf. Curiosity got the better of me, and I followed. The passage led to an underground chamber. Candles flickered, illuminating grotesque carvings and paintings on the wall. I lost all sense of time and reality. My sister, who had been dead for 10 years, appeared in a painting and screamed, "Emma, what are you doing here?" Oh no, they're gonna trap your soul as well. At this point, I could no longer tell what was real or what was in my head. I found myself coming to my senses on a cold table. I looked up and saw Sean. In the center of the room, he stood before an altar, wearing a hooded robe, the medallion around his neck glowing faintly. The other guests had formed a circle. They were all dressed in hoods as well. One of the musicians lay unconscious in a pentagram circle on the floor, with candles at the 5 points. I hoped they didn't notice I was awake, so I quickly tried to escape. In a panic, I knocked over a vase, which fell to the floor and broke, alerting everyone. Sean shouted, "There is nothing to fear, let me explain everything," his voice calm and steady. His success, his fame, it all came at a price. The medallion was the key to an ancient ritual that allowed him to steal the voices and souls of young artists, trapping them forever within the mansion. In exchange, the musicians would be allowed to have 2 years of fame and fortune. "You'll be part of something eternal, Emma," Sean said. "You will be part of a powerful club, and you can get out anytime you want by offering 7 souls for yours." I nodded, pretending to accept, but inside I was terrified and panicking. I had to escape. I was up next for an initiation into the occult. That night, I scoured the mansion desperately for answers. In the studio, I found an ancient book detailing the ritual. The medallion was the source of Sean's power. Destroying it would free the trapped souls. But as I read, I felt something cold brush against my neck. I turned and saw my reflection in the studio window, staring back at me, smiling even though I wasn't. I am not a religious person, but right then I said a prayer. "Whoever is listening up there, please let me make it out of this." Alaric led me to the circle. During the ritual, as Sean chanted in a language I couldn't understand, I lunged for the medallion. He was faster than I expected, grabbing my wrist with inhuman strength. Mr. Alaric appeared, his face twisted into a sneer. But as Sean focused on restraining me, I managed to grab the medallion. The eye in the middle of the medallion immediately came to life and looked at me. In a rush of adrenaline, I threw it and it smashed against the altar. The room shook violently. Sean's face looked contorted, like there were 1,000 beings within him. He dropped to his knees, and his real form manifested. Sean let out an ear-piercing scream as the medallion shattered. The walls of the mansion began to bleed, the trapped souls wailing as they were released. I ran, dodging collapsing beams and flames as the mansion fell apart. The forest outside seemed alive, clawing at me as I sprinted toward the driveway. Behind me, the mansion crumbled into ash. The next morning, I returned with the police, but the mansion was gone. Only a charred patch of earth remained. Among the ashes, I found a shard of the medallion still faintly glowing. As I picked it up, I heard a whisper.
Emma, don't worry, you belong to us. We will get you next time.
That's when it dawned on me. Sometimes the price we pay for fame and fortune is too much.